Sauron, the Dark Lord, the Deceiver, the Master of the One Ring. Few figures in Tolkien's Middle-earth are as complex and multifaceted as this infamous character. But how many faces can Sauron take? How many forms can he morph himself into? Let's explore this today.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
From his origins as Mairon, a mighty spirit of Aule, to his final days as the One Ring was destroyed, Sauron's transformations are a testament to his cunning and malevolence. Throughout the Second Age, he was the fair and persuasive Annatar, deceiving the elves and guiding the creation of the Rings of Power. In the First Age, he wielded shapeshifting abilities, transforming into terrifying creatures like werewolves and vampires. By the Third Age, he was the shadowy Necromancer of Dol Guldur. Each form served a purpose, each transformation carried a dark intention. So, let's delve into the lore and attempt to understand how each form not only defined him, but also influenced the fate of Middle-earth, from noble beginnings to the ultimate corruption. This is the story of the many faces of Sauron. Our journey begins at the very creation of the world, in the timeless halls where Eru Ilúvatar, the One, created the Ainur. Among these divine spirits were the Maiar, lesser Ainur who served the more powerful Valar. One of these Maiar was Mairon, who would later become known as Sauron. Mairon, which means the admirable in Kenya, was a Maiar of Aule, the Valar of craft and smithing. In his original form, Mairon was a being of great beauty and power. Tolkien describes him in the Silmarillion as one who admired order and perfection, traits that made him a skilled craftsman and wise spirit. Under Aule's guidance, Mairon honed his skills and became one of the most knowledgeable and talented of the Maiar. However, Mairon's ambition and desire for order extended beyond the bounds of good intentions, making him susceptible to corruption. This ambition caught the attention of Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. Morgoth saw in Mairon a kindred spirit and a valued lieutenant in his quest to dominate Middle-earth. Under Morgoth's influence, Mairon's fair and admirable nature twisted into a lust for power and control. Thus, Mairon became Sauron, the Abhorrent. This transformation marked the beginning of Sauron's journey toward becoming the ultimate adversary of Middle-earth. No longer content with merely crafting beautiful things, Sauron sought to dominate and rule, using his skills for malice rather than creation. In the Second Age, Sauron devised one of his most cunning plans. He took on a fair and benevolent guise, presenting himself as Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. This form was instrumental in his efforts to deceive the elves of Eregion and gain their trust. Annatar appeared as a wise and noble figure, with a radiant and appealing appearance that masked his true intentions. Annatar was fair and noble of face and form, deceiving even the wisest of the elves, save for Galadriel and Gil-galad. It says in letter 246 from the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien that he could appear as a commanding figure of great strength of body and supremely royal demeanour and countenance. As Annatar, Sauron offered his vast knowledge and skills, teaching the elven smiths the secrets of ring crafting. His influence was particularly strong on Celebrimbor, the grandson of Feanor, who led the Gwaith y Myrddin. Under Annatar's direction, the elves created powerful rings, each imbued with specific abilities. However, Sauron's true plan was far more sinister. In secret, he returned to Mordor and forged the One Ring, the Master Ring that would control all others. As Galadriel sums it in the Lord of the Rings movies,
"And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life."
The One Ring was the linchpin to his scheme to dominate Middle-earth, binding the bearers of the other rings to his will. When Sauron put on the One Ring, the elves immediately perceived his deception and took off their rings, thwarting his plan to control them directly. Annatar's fair form and his ability to deceive even the wisest of the elves underscores Sauron's cunning and his talent for manipulation. After his true identity was revealed, Sauron embraced his role as the Dark Lord of Mordor. This transformation marked a significant shift in his strategy and appearance, reflecting his malice and desire for domination. As the Dark Lord, Sauron took on a fearsome and terrifying form, appearing as a towering figure of dread. His eyes were flames, symbolizing his fiery spirit and unyielding will. In this form, Sauron fortified Mordor, completing his construction of the Dark Tower of Barad-dûr. His goal was clear: to conquer and rule all three peoples under his iron fist. Sauron's physical presence as the Dark Lord was a commanding one for people to fear. His transformation into the Dark Lord emphasized his supreme arrogance and unyielding desire to dominate. In the Silmarillion, it is noted that after the fall of Númenor, he wrought himself a new guise, an image of malice and hatred made visible, and the eye of Sauron the Terrible few could endure. This form symbolized the corrupted nature of power and the ultimate futility of evil. Now, by the time of the War of the Ring in the Third Age, Sauron had become more of a symbolic presence, yet his influence was more menacing than ever. He was often referred to as the Eye, a symbol that struck fear into the heart of all those who opposed him. The Eye of Sauron is described as a symbol of his omnipresent vigilance and his burning desire to reclaim the One Ring. This symbol was not a literal eye, but a representation of his pervasive surveillance and control over Middle-earth. Tolkien's portrayal of the Eye serves as a powerful psychological weapon. It embodies the terror of being constantly watched and hunted. Frodo, Sam, and other characters frequently feel the oppressive presence of Sauron's gaze, a reminder that his influence is ever-reaching. When Frodo looks into the mirror of Galadriel, he sees, "The eye was rimmed with fire, but was itself glazed, yellow as a cat's, watchful and intent, and the black slit of its pupil opened on a pit, a window into nothing. Then the eye began to rove, searching this way and that, and Frodo knew with certainty and horror that among the many things that it sought, he himself was one." The Eye of Sauron is more than just a manifestation of his will. The Eye's ever-watching presence reflects Sauron's desire to dominate all life in Middle-earth, a reflection of his corrupted spirit and his boundless malice. Tolkien uses this imagery to create a palpable sense of dread and tension, underscoring the pervasive threat Sauron represents. On the battlefield, the Eye of Sauron was a symbol of intimidation and psychological warfare. It not only served as a beacon of Sauron's forces, but also as a demoralizing presence for his enemies. The mere sight of the Eye could sow fear and despair among the ranks of those who stood against him. The influence of the Eye extended to key events and characters. It played a crucial role in the Siege of Minas Tirith, the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, and the final confrontation at the Black Gate. The constant pressure of the Eye's watchfulness pushed Frodo and Sam to their limits, testing their resolve and determination. The Eye stands as one of the most iconic symbols in Tolkien's work. It represents the omnipresent threat of Sauron, a reminder of his power and of his malevolent will. This symbolic form of Sauron captures the essence of his character: ever watchful, ever hungry for dominion. Sauron was not just a master of deceit and domination. He was also a formidable shapeshifter. Throughout the ages, he assumed various forms to instill fear, exert control, and adapt to different situations. In the First Age, during the Tale of Beren and Luthien, Sauron demonstrated his terrifying shapeshifting abilities, taking the form of a great werewolf. This form allowed him to dominate Tol and Galhoth, the Isle of Werewolves. Tolkien writes, "Sauron was become now a sorcerer of dreadful power, master of shadows and phantoms, foul in wisdom, cruel in strength, misshapen what he touched, twisting what he ruled, lord of werewolves. His dominion was torment." His transformation into a werewolf was a clear manifestation of his dark sorcery. But Sauron's shapeshifting did not stop at werewolves. He also took the form of a vampire bat. In the Lay of Leithian, Tolkien describes Sauron's transformation. "A vampire shape with pinions vast screeching leaped from the ground and passed, its dark blood dripping on the trees." This form allowed Sauron to move unseen and strike fear into the heart of his enemies. Sauron could also transform into a serpent, another fearsome and cunning form. This is mentioned in the Silmarillion and the Lay of Leithian, where Sauron shifts from shape to terrify his enemies and try and defeat those who stood against him. From shape to shape, Sauron's versatility knew few bounds. But despite his diverse shapeshifting abilities, Sauron's preferred form was often humanoid. Sauron should be thought of as very terrible, The form that he took was that of a man who was more than human stature, but not gigantic. However, after the downfall of Numenor and his subsequent defeat at the hands of the Last Alliance, Sauron's ability to assume fair forms was lost. He was left with only his darker, more terrifying guises. Now, going back to the Third Age, as it progressed, Sauron took on a new guise to regain his strength and rebuild his power: the Necromancer of Dol Guldur. This form, shrouded in mystery and dark sorcery, allowed him to operate in secret while plotting his return to power. Dol Guldur, the Hill of Sorcery, was Sauron's chosen lair in the southern reaches of Mirkwood. Under the guise of the Necromancer, he began to reassert his influence over Middle-earth. In The Hobbit, Gandalf identifies the Necromancer as Sauron, although this revelation comes only later in the story. As the Necromancer, Sauron utilised dark magic and necromancy to summon spirits, control creatures, and spread fear. His presence in Dol Guldur corrupted the surrounding lands, turning Mirkwood into a place of dread and shadow. Dol Guldur's strategic significance cannot be understated. It was not only a stronghold but also a place from which Sauron could gather his strength, marshal his forces, and plot his eventual return to open warfare. The rise of the Necromancer did not go unnoticed. The White Council, comprising the wisest and most powerful beings in Middle-earth, including the likes of Gandalf, Galadriel, and Saruman, grew increasingly concerned. In response to the threat posed by the Necromancer, the White Council launched an assault on Dol Guldur in 2941, forcing Sauron to retreat back to Mordor. The guise of the Necromancer was a crucial phase in Sauron's return to power. It allowed him to operate in secrecy, gather strength, and prepare for his eventual re-emergence as the Dark Lord. Throughout his long existence, Sauron experienced several defeats that left him without a physical form. Despite these setbacks, his spirit remained unbroken, continuing to exert influence over Middle-earth from the shadows. This resilience underscores the enduring threat he posed. The first significant event that led to Sauron's loss of a physical form was the downfall of Numenor. After corrupting the Númenóreans and leading them to their doom, Sauron perished in a cataclysmic destruction of the island. However, his spirit survived and fled back to Middle-earth. Tolkien describes this in the Silmarillion. But Sauron was not of mortal flesh, and though he was robbed now of that shape in which he had wrought so great an evil, so that he could never again appear fair to the eyes of men, yet his spirit arose out of the deep and passed as a shadow and a black wind over the sea, and came back to Middle-earth and to Mordor that was his home. In this disembodied state, Sauron continued to influence events and beings from afar. The next critical defeat occurred at the end of the Second Age, during the Battle of the Last Alliance. When Isildur cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand, his physical form was destroyed again. In the Silmarillion it is noted, "Then Sauron was for that time vanquished, and he forsook his body, and his spirit fled far away and hid in waste places. And he took no visible shape again for many long years." During these years, Sauron's spirit worked behind the scenes, slowly regaining strength. The process of regaining a physical form began around the year 1000 of the Third Age, when Sauron returned in secret to Dol Guldur, like we've mentioned. By the time he reoccupied Dol Guldur in 1300, his power had grown significantly. In the Fellowship of the Ring, it is mentioned, "Governing Mordor from afar through Minas Morgul, where his 9 servants dwelt until all was ready. Then he gave way before us, but only feigned to flee, and soon after came to the Dark Tower and openly declared himself. Then for the last time the council met, for now we learned that he was seeking ever more eagerly for the One." This marked the beginning of his return to a physical form, culminating in his reoccupation of Barad-dûr. When the White Council attacked Dol Guldur in 2941, Sauron abandoned the fortress and returned to Mordor, where he openly declared himself once more. Sauron's ability to persist as a disembodied spirit and gradually reclaim a physical form highlights his resilience and the nature of his evil. By the late Third Age, Sauron had once again taken a physical form, though it was far removed from his fair guise as Annatar. His final form, forged after centuries of gathering strength and influence, was a terrifying image of malice and hatred. In his final incarnation, Sauron appeared as a figure of great stature, his skin blackened by the fires of his forging, and his eyes ablaze with a piercing malevolent light. This form was described as an image of malice and hatred made visible, a reflection of his inner corruption and the evil that drove him. This final form was designed to inspire fear and awe, serving as a physical manifestation of his dark will. Sauron's physical presence in Barad-dûr allowed him to directly command his forces and project his will across Middle-earth. His blackened hand, burning with a malevolent fire, became a symbol of his enduring strength and his unquenchable desire for dominion. Despite the many forms he assumed, certain characteristics remained constant throughout Sauron's existence. His fiery eyes, symbolic with his spirit's connection to the element of fire, always shone with a terrifying intensity. His tall, imposing stature and his ability to inspire fear and command loyalty also endured. Sauron's final form was a culmination of all his previous transformations, embodying the full extent of his malice and power. Yet, even in this form, he was not invincible. The destruction of the One Ring, the source of much of his power, ultimately led to his downfall. With the ring's destruction, Sauron's spirit was finally cast into the void, unable to ever take shape or influence the world of the living. Sauron's final form and characteristics were the ultimate expression of his malevolent will and his unending desire for power. From his fiery eyes to his blackened skin, every aspect of his appearance was designed to instill fear and command obedience. Yet, his story serves as a powerful reminder of the ultimate futility of such evil. No matter how many forms he took, Sauron's essence remained the same, a testament to the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition and the enduring power of hope and resilience. So there we have it. Sauron's journey through Middle-earth was marked by a series of transformations, each reflecting his insatiable lust for power and his deep-seated malice. From the fair Annatar to the fearsome Dark Lord, the elusive Necromancer, and the omnipresent Great Eye, his forms were as varied as they were terrifying. Each guise served a purpose, each form a step towards his ultimate goal of dominion. Yet, despite the changes in appearance, the core of Sauron's being remained the same: a drive for control, a capacity for deceit, and a presence of malice. In the end, Sauron's physical forms were as impermanent as his reign. The destruction of the One Ring brought an end to his physical manifestations, casting his spirit into the void, never to threaten Middle-earth again. Sauron's many transformations remind us of the corrupting influence of power and the ultimate futility of evil. They serve as a testament to the resilience and hope that define Tolkien's world. Despite his many forms, Sauron's story ultimately ends in defeat, a powerful message that even the darkest forces can be overcome. And I would also like to take a moment at the end of this video today to give you a quick update on The Guard, the short film that we are creating. Everything is going amazing. We have just shot Block 2, and the rest of it should hopefully be shot soon too. As always, it is all the money from our Patreon that is funding this. In essence, it is a no budget production if you consider the large scale of film, but every pound that you give is a massive help to create an incredible story. I'm putting a couple of shots on screen now and some behind the scenes clips to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So if you would like to help support it a little bit more to help push us over the line, then please check out our Patreon. Every little bit really helps. And with that, now it is time for my question of the day, which is, of course, which of Sauron's forms is your favourite and why? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. And now it is time to give a massive thank you to our patrons who continue to support the channel. You are all amazing. And if you have reached the very end of this video with me today and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It would massively help us out. And why not drop a like on the video as well? And with that, all I can say is, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.